Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Citizens Alliance for Better Candidates. I'm your host, Joe Odo, running for Congress here in South Carolina's 6th Congressional District against an incumbent who's been there 32 years and won't even come to the campaign forum. And so I'm joined by two great guests tonight. I really appreciate them making it. Jackie Todd is from Anderson, South Carolina, and on the ballot for State House up there. And Zach Moore joining us from Savannah, Georgia, ground zero for the swing state pressure that's going on. He's started something interesting this year. So we're going to pick up with those folks by starting with Jackie. Jackie, tell me, how did that Helene shut your power down for a week? I imagine it interrupted the campaign effort as well, did it?
It interrupted everything in this upstate. It's just been awful. Thank goodness we do have power back. It's been a week, almost a week back, but I guess the blessing on one side is that it wasn't too hot or too cold, because we could have been in, really drastic weather other than just wet. So, but we're back.
And you really didn't get punished as badly as the folks in Eastern Tennessee and some Western North Carolina. I mean, did you have flooding and stuff going on where you were?
It was a little bit of flooding, but not like nothing like North Carolina and Tennessee. That's correct.
Yeah, right. So Jackie's with us on the Alliance Party team here in South Carolina. So tell me more about the campaign. How you got an incumbent you're challenging again, right? I think you've done this before.
Actually, I am running against Don Chapman. This will be his second term. He kind of filled in a couple of years ago because his predecessor got caught doing some bad things with his campaign funds. So he dropped out at the last minute, and Don Chapman stepped up, and he did have a competition for the primary, and she lost, but he's back, and so I'll be running against him again. I ran against him.
You had a one-on-one race. Wow.
A one-on-one race. Actually, 2 years ago it was three of us, but this time it's just one-on-one. So
wow, yeah, I love that. So
yes.
Are you getting any of the media people? Are there any media left to cover you up there?
Not much. They mainly like hanging around the Columbia area. Anderson is just not or Greenville. Anderson's just not that big, not that important. But they mainly like hanging around bigger cities like Greenville, Spartanburg, and Columbia, Charleston.
So I suspect this is an individual that's part of the supermajority in the House there.
You're talking Don Chapman?
Yeah.
No, he's still trying to get himself known, but as far as a Republican, yes. But he's trying to pedal away from, being a Trumper. But
so he's not part of the hardcore extreme liberty group that they call themselves?
That is correct. He's not.
Wow. Wow.
So that
makes it harder to run against, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
He's one of those kind of nice ones.
Right. Because even in the forum the other day, when there was one person from the Republican Party, who I call the oil party when I'm in the room with them, they spew the same stuff. Illegal aliens. Like, oh, okay, let's keep that going,
Right.
Pathetic.
Right. Well, he has a little bit more sense than that, actually.
Wow, don't want to say too many nice things about him now. Come on.
Right, I'm sorry.
we vote for Jackie.
We'll sound like the vice presidential debate, right?
So Jackie, tell us, what's the most compelling reason people ought to vote for you this time?
The most compelling reason, because I am running on the platform of No Family Left Behind. It's a spinoff on the No Child Left Behind.
Right.
And it is still related to education. And education is the thing that will help keep families moving forward. And that is what I will promote. That is what I will push for, and to help put in programs to, educate on, how to raise children if you have to, or how to kind of keep yourself retooled as you're working so that you can advance in the workforce. Because we were talking AI earlier. You need to be able to keep up with technology, and education is the way to do that.
Yeah, well, that's good to bring that up. And in our forum the other day, we were mentioning how you need parental input, but you're also, if you gave the kids a chance to learn civics, which is a lost art anymore. They could be out working on stuff in the community. They will learn to read and write and interact with people, put their phones down, and get stuff done, right? I mean, civics is a lost art. Is that part of your platform?
Well, actually, we looked into the whole civics thing. We thought that they had taken it out of all schools, but it is kind of still in there. Which, how would you even, if you didn't have civics, how do you know how to vote, run for office, or how things become law? It was baffling because I know I had it when I was in high school, and they do still kind of have it, but it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, I suspect it's pretty whitewashed in the history anyway. Yep. Oh my gosh.
So there's no real government class for high school students?
There is, but it's not like it used to be. I've learned that little jingle, how a bill becomes a law.
Schoolhouse Rock.
Schoolhouse Rock, exactly. I love that song, and I could still sing it now if you wanted me to, but I probably shouldn't. It's too late.
That came after my time. I don't remember.
But that, and I actually did ask some, like the next generation. They remember the song, but it's the generation after that had no idea what I was talking about. So, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of scary. Like when I was knocking on doors using that app that the RFK people gave us, and 20, it said on the app, this woman is 20 years old. And I asked her, "Oh, so you're going to vote?" She says, "Oh, I have to be 21 to vote, don't I?" I'm like, "Oh my God." So you can tell that, hey, how did you get registered to begin with, right? They must be at least helping them get registered. But the fact that she didn't know she could vote, that's scary, man. How little the participation is.
And actually, I was hearing this is a 19, 20-something year old younger person speaking the other day about voting, and have decided that they're not going to vote because they don't think they are educated enough to vote. And I'm like,
I see. So that's what the civics education is teaching them now. You be an informed voter.
right.
You don't have to be. I mean, you can still vote without being informed. That's for sure. But it is better. Well, good. Thanks for that summary. We'll come back around to you in a minute. Let me ask Zach to jump in here. Now, Zach, you created a party with no real intention to run anybody this year, but I guess your sights are on 26, 28, right? Tell us more.
Well, yeah, we created the Emerald Party with a board as refugees from the Green Party and out of kind of a critical cauldron looking at the 2020 primary as dysfunctional. One of the leading candidates, for example, was left off the ballot in North Carolina without.
Are you talking about the Green Party?
The Green Party, yeah.
Oh, Green Party had a primary and they left somebody off.
They left Dario Hunter completely off the ballot, and it was not like he didn't want to be on the ballot. He just didn't show up. And that's one example among many, and it resulted in several of the chapters disaffiliating with the national organization. There was some very heavy-handed politics going on with Jesse Ventura, and we paired him with Cynthia McKinney, and actually wound up getting him on the ballot in Alaska. The politics got so intense that the Alaskan Greens took Howie Hawkins, preferred someone that really didn't have any other shot in the primary, and he and Cynthia wound up getting votes in the actual election. So there was a lot of chaos, and let's just say heavy-handed and perhaps malfeasance going on, structuring the rules so that people who wanted to run for president didn't have much of a chance, and it seemed like it was kind of rigged to a lot of people. And someone with name recognition like Cynthia McKinney and Jesse Ventura were polling nationally in the 20s in a three-way race against Hillary Clinton and Biden and what's his,
the other, the con man.
Again, what?
The con man.
The con man, Trump.
We don't have to mention names.
I don't have a problem saying his name. In fact, I think he's going to carry Georgia by the ways. But we're getting in for another. They're digging in, I'm sure, for another quite spectacular, bizarre fiasco at the voting box, just like last time.
I have no doubt there'll be dozens of them.
You know, and maybe it's Florida this time with all this. You know, you have 2 hurricanes in 2 weeks. Good luck getting all this stuff together. Anyway, so we decided to evolve into a party by itself, a standalone party, and we're not derivative of anyone else, and we want to set up state chapters and have a relationship with those state chapters, and then they can certify candidates that could run at any level. So we kind of inverted the power structure so that the National Green Party isn't selecting candidates. It's kind of like we say, hey, this is what we expect out of you to be a meaningful candidate at any level, to prepare for running for office. You know, what's one thing you want to change in your district, and sell us on the policy, you know, make a pitch, you know, because that's kind of what you got to do. I mean, if you're not going to, if that intimidates you, then don't run, you know, and don't, you know, how are you going to raise some money? Or at least do you have a plan, you know? So those are the kinds of things that we can help structure, but then at the local level, local chapters or state chapters will sponsor candidates if they're either local or national candidates, like a presidential candidate. I think that's, to answer your question, I think having actual candidates is still at least 2 years off. If you were looking at anyone running would have to have a pretty good piggy bank and infrastructure and experience, like an RFK. Some of our people had conversations with him directly a couple years ago about that, and one asked him, you know, would you run? And he said, would you vote for me if you ran? Not that we're crazy about everything that he says. You know, there are certain things about Israel that I think are I don't know, you know, if you were a PR person or maybe AIPAC's lawyer, you would say some of the things that he had said. So the moral of the story here is that I think down the road in a convention, people and chapters will debate out where our policies and platforms should be. But there are some pretty obvious ones that I think in independent politics are streaming, and you'll see people on the right pick this up in the Trump camp, and you'll see some of these things also picked up a lot now with the Harris campaign about taxation. And I really firmly believe 2024 is a lot about crime and you know, people's piggy bank, people's wallets, and that, you know, it doesn't matter what district you're in. I mean, Jackie, you're shaking your head. You know, those are things that are basically, you put those two together, it's, well, how's my family doing? So, you know, when you door knocked in the district, you know, around Anderson, you get a sense of how people are feeling. What is it that is the primary issue? And that one is visceral. I think people, you give visceral reactions. They might like this or that kind of, what we might call other kinds of issues, like wedge issues. But these things, at the end of the day, they stick, I think. And I think we're there right now. And that's reflected in the national trend of people moving out of the Democratic Party into independent parties or just being independent. They're hemorrhaging 2% a year of voter registrations. You know, and I don't know how a party can exist if you lose 2% a year, year after year after year. And 1% of those are going independent, and then 1% are actually going into the Republican Party, the MAGA party. They're probably going to rebrand themselves at some point. So
interesting. Well, thanks for that background, because, you know, the acrimony that goes on in some of these small parties, it's not like we need more parties, but sometimes they just can't keep it together. They won't coordinate efforts internally. I know the Libertarians had a split this year too. I mean, you know, the national chair they have now calls herself an anarchist. is totally opposite of some of the rank and file members there. So it's sad that we have to do that because the whole big two party, the big one party, seeing us split up and divide, and it's easier for them to conquer us, right, Jackie? I mean, we are pretty lucky to be part of an alliance party, which is on the growth and has a few real good principles that are sound, like the candidates pledge to show their financials, be transparent, and term limits. So, what do you think, Jackie? What's the need for more parties or just better candidates?
Well, hey, it's a catch-22. We need to just get rid of all parties, my opinion.
Yeah.
And just because of technology, I'm kind of more of a guru than I'm really a politician, but because of technology, we don't need to have to electoral college. Votes can be counted almost instantaneously. We don't have to go through all this. And if we did ranked choice voting, you already know who's going to win. No parties, ranked choice voting, it'll settle everything. One time out.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we can really, what was the point of parties? Right now, the big two are just nothing but fundraising. That's all they are. They're the biggest fundraising operations in the world. And do we really still need them? The only thing, like even Chris Christie said, the only purpose for the Republican Party is to win elections. That's it. There's no real platform. So,
well,
that's where that's going, right?
Yeah, my opinion, back in the day when they had these parties, it was someone had to get on a horse and ride into, the Capitol or ride into DC, and you had to carry those votes in. Like I said, technology, these things, it's like pixels. You can count it right away.
Well, you just said the third issue that I think America is really interested in and still pretty white hot about. With computers, if you're going to put a vote on an electronic machine, what would you say about those concerns that those can get hacked and programmed? What would be your response to that? Like, because you're essentially saying make it electronic, right?
Oh yeah, you could put checks and balances on all of that. They can hack it beforehand, but you could also put the checks and balances on there that they can't hack it while it's happening, if you know what I mean. So you can protect yourselves, or technology can be protected.
Like a paper ballot that can be audited?
Well, paper ballot can be audited. They can go in and vote by paper, and you just kind of scan that in right away. Still, the vote is counted instantaneously. You don't have to, you don't have to let the database go out of the United States. It can all sit right here in the United States. It doesn't have to go to China or any of these other places. So, like I said, I'm kind of getting nerdy on this whole thing, but
that would be helpful. I would think yeah. And what about ownership of these machines too? Like came out quite a bit that we don't own the machines.
Right. We need to. We don't own anything anymore. So we need to.
Because they're just leased to the government entities, and they have to have extended service contracts on them and stuff like that. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. How about that for a pillar of the Alliance Party? Is own the damn machines. Can we own our own election? I mean, we got the databases are being transferred out across the borders. What? No, there's no security in that ever possible. If you do that, there's no way.
And we have the wherewithal to do it here while we're sending it over across the water. I have no idea.
I would hope so. I would hope so that we could build our own machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're too dependent on the machine industry, which is probably a decade or two behind in technology. So because the setup of all the government entities having to buy them, maybe the government itself shouldn't be the ones conducting elections, right? Maybe we need an independent for that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Remember if you had brought this up, Joe, a while ago when we talked, but remember in the 1980s, I believe the one when Mondale ran Was that correct, or was it Dukakis ran against Bush after Reagan's second term in the late 80s? The League of Women Voters, for some reason, abdicated what was one of the most important political rituals that we do, which were the debates. And now the political parties own
I
these
think it was more
intellectual
like
debates.
snatched from them. I don't think they
Yeah.
abdicated on purpose.
Well,
They
somehow.
created a commission that squeezed them out on purpose. It was collusion of the two big parties.
Yeah. So that right there, um, and the individuals can be corrupted, or threatened, I guess. But that was a turning point in our politics and political discourse, not for the better.
Well, and that's good that you bring the points up, because it does, in general, our theme here is that we need people outside of the entity, the whatever you want to call it. We call it a uni-party. But so Jackie, tell me, when you were working for RFK and it felt like maybe we have a true independent this time, and then of course he sells out and then turns out he was still an establishment hack. I mean, you were in as the state director here. I mean, how that had to feel really personally a personal
Well,
affront to.
I kind of understand, what happened there because I was kind of closer inside. Part of it was because of the Uniparty, more the Democratic Party. They basically, drained his coffers, and without money, you can't run for office at that level. So because they drained his coffers, he just tried to, do whatever he could to hurt them because they were the ones that really hurt him, and it was really the Democratic Party. And I really, really believe that that's why he mostly did what he did.
Well, in other words, though, didn't he tarnish who people don't really know what an independent is? So, Zach, how do we, with you starting a new Emerald Party, are you trying to brand something that's completely different than the Uniparty, and do we look for establishment hacks like him to join us, or do we try to work our way from outside of that?
Well, I think I told my mother the other day I trust politicians as far as I can throw them,
Right.
and she's a lifetime Democrat. So, those people see things in terms of either a Trump or Democrat. I'm like, you don't even know what most of the country's thinking, and the majority are independent, meaning the uniparty doesn't work for them. They may have done that a kind of analysis, but they're done. They're you're not going to sign them up. How do we do that? Well, one thing that first of all, to answer your question, like, because this is the same question about Jesse Ventura, a big name celebrity, a Jimmy Dore needs to run for us, and we have these internal debates quite a bit about the value of that, but the danger of that then you've built your tent very narrow and very high, and it can get knocked over pretty easily. I believe that for any party that's growing and any party that doesn't build a base of leadership of people who run at the local level, like Ms. Todd or other people who want to run for statewide office like you are, or that's not a statewide office, but run in a legislature or run in a local office for the first time, you build a bench of leadership, and those people learn how to run campaigns, manage people, and govern, and have built a reputation to use power responsibly and to affect a good political flex a constituency. That game never changes. I mean, I hate to bring this up. We were talking about Strom Thurmond early on, but Strom Thurmond had enormous connections with high school students that would intern in his office every summer, and so everyone had some kind of connection. And you don't have to do it that way, the nepotism way, but you can do it through constituent service. And I would tell you, having known that office, that they had a reputation in Washington for being excellent about their community, their constituent service. So if you contacted them, they got value back. Now, Strom Thurmond's an extreme example of someone with terrible politics, but the moral of the story is one of the jobs is to govern and to connect with your constituents. That's kind of the job description, is if you've got to be able to do that. So, what good is it when you run for president? You're running for like 50 gubernatorial races. And like you said, you got to have money to run all of those and to manage people and to have a machine that goes. So, you need to build a good bench of leadership so that there are people that are ready to take the next step after they've built leadership and have earned it, and can plausibly run for a congressional seat or a gubernatorial seat, and then from there have experience and have proven that they can lead, and face the entire country and do that 50 times.
So you take the long view. That's a good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long game, and these things aren't done overnight. We live in an instant gratification culture where people think if you get yourself on TV and you get someone with a celebrity and all these eyeballs and la la la, but yeah, that is electrifying and helpful for fundraising, and can be, it's good to have a national perspective, but all politics are local, and so you got to win one race at a time. Just because you've got someone with that celebrity status blinds you to the actual work of converting working people with families who have become activists because of an issue and become activated in their community and have developed these skills in groups of people with skills. So it's not enough just to be a candidate. You have to be able to build a campaign, and those campaigns are made out of people, right, with different skill sets and face different types of people in different parts of your community. So that's how you got to, you got to be able to build that, is what I'm focused on. I'm building the culture that does that.
Well, good, thanks. We're down to our last few minutes. So Jackie, give me some response and how, maybe address how we recruit people, because we got 50% of the races unopposed up here.
Well, I'm not sure how we recruit people, but people don't want to run for office because it's an ugly thing to do.
Yeah.
But if we had more people that would vote out of hope instead of out of fear, we will get more independents in office.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they don't vote for an independent is because they're afraid that one of the uni-party sides will win. So how do we get rid of the fear?
Yeah, that's right. How do we get rid of defensive voting? That's what you're saying. They're voting for the lesser of two evils rather than offensive or pro-actively voting.
But you are correct. If you go back and you look at the presidents, people who've run in and been successful in our presidential elections, they are all aspirational. They are better at being aspirational. Hope, and without exception. You can't just look at each one of them. Not just the.
Well, I don't know. The con man seems to be running on grievances. He's the victim, and.
Well, what's a con man's slogan? Make America great again. That's an aspirational slogan. What's the opposition? What did his opposition have? Right. And what about Obama? Yes, I can. He would even use spirituals in, yes, we can, and do the spiritual kind of thing. Bill Clinton used to do that. I still believe in a place called hope. I saw Ronald Reagan do it. I saw George Bush beat Al Gore, because Al Gore was.
So you're saying that the slogan overrides what he actually says.
The aspirational message and experience. Right. Is powerful and will override and
that's good.
Neutralize the politics of fear and the negative voting. I'm voting because I don't want that. But you can look people in the eye and say, what do you want for your future, for your family? Right. And let's do it. Right.
Good point. All right.
That's leadership, right?
We're in our last minute. So let me let you go ahead and give us your website there. Zach, how do we reach, if you want some people to reach you?
We're emeraldpartyus.org, O-R-G, and we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and thank you for being here. Great to meet you.
Sounds good. Luck, Jackie, you want to give your information?
Yep, my website is votejackietodd.com, and all donations are accepted up to November 5th.
Why? You can take some afterwards.
Oh, true,
Help-
but I'm
help
going to win,
relinquish
and
the debt.
yeah, that's true. You can cover my debt.
Exactly.
VoteJackieTodd.com. Thank you.
All right. Well, very good. I really appreciate you guys showing up tonight, having a lively conversation here on Citizens Alliance for Better Candidates. Joe Odo. And you can check out my website at bettercandidates.org. Connect with us. We're looking to have maybe a Braver Angels guy on maybe next week. Oh, actually, no. Former chairman of the Libertarian Party is going to be National Libertarian Party is going to join me next week. So hope you'll tune in every 9:30 every Wednesday. Good night, folks.